I was wondering how the first project came to be conceived and commissioned, like you said, because one hears so much about how surveillance in the UK is targeted at ethnic and racial minorities. So how is it that South Asian artists, filmmakers, came to be invited to do a project like this, where the respondents were all white British people? So what the implications of that were?
Yeah, one black
They were
guy.
not all white.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But so that's an interesting question, and I'd sort of alluded to it because the South Asians invited have to pay a shitload of money for a visa and go through all the iris scanning and fingerprinting and questioning at the board. By the UK Border Agency. We were invited by the Corner House, which is like a museum, well-known art space in Manchester, but it was also the Asian Triennial. Manchester has something called the Asian Triennial Manchester. And then we were asked to make a new work. And perhaps it's in our inherent instinct to not run to the Indian neighborhood in Manchester, but actually interrogate what that whole feeling of having visited London and just that fear after all these goddamn questionings at the border and just being there. I mean, you feel a sense of being an ethnic outsider, and then these things are watching you, right? So the relationship between God or camera is entirely evident there, that like, why are these things watching me? And so I guess part of that process led us to want to be able to get inside. And then, of course, camp is known to do quite devious things, because we believe that you've been given this invitation, and artists therefore have this privilege to. And then art is a wide open field. Kuch bhi kar sakte ho, because it's art. So let's do this. And then it often these things are enabled by a curator who trusts you, someone who has followed your work and wants it to go a certain way. So in this case, we took the museum's education department, which had something called the Young People's Program, and we said this is just education. People should be allowed to enter the CCTV control room. Once we had that permission from both Arndale and the University Police station, because you see it's the uni area, that's where a lot of young kids are coming. We put up public posts. So there were announcements put in all the sort of local, and people signed on.
I saw an overwhelming sense of voyeurism by the people controlling the cameras, where despite the mundaneness and boredom, like they said, they seem to enjoy controlling it and watching them, and they explicitly said so. And what strikes me the most is, in both the cases, they were quite prejudiced against the people they were watching. In the first case as criminals, and the second case maybe justified, but still. So I don't know, how is that? Maybe because it's an official state, maybe it's screened, but in other cases, I don't know if you know this, but there are many websites and apps where you can watch hundreds of live CCTV feeds from around the world.
Yeah.
So is there anything? How much security is being traded in for the liberty that we are giving?
Can you say that again?
The
How much of security is acquired by the liberty that we are trading in? Because as witnessed by the London riots and whatever, those kind of things, there was nothing that the CCTV cameras did. All they did was catch people who burned the shops, so that's it.
There are 30,000 hours of footage to go through after 24 hours of riots.
The first question is, are the people and the Manchester thing, how are the police officers screened before they are giving the assignment?
Yeah, you have to go through I was actually wrong by saying that they are kind of outsourced. They are not police officers
They're guards.
themselves. They don't go through proper police training, but they go through special CCTV training. And yes, of course, it's extremely voyeuristic because of the nature of what has been set up. There is this black box and there is this camera which you can control. Right? Immediately that causes this problem. So what we were interested in also was, this is a kind of if you like, Kafkaesque, or you can take it to what is the logical extremes of this kind of thing when they happen democratically, right? Now, if everybody has a camera on top of their head when they're looking like this, which in a way they do, then what happens to voyeurism? Or is that just the standard mode of functioning? I'm a voyeur, yes, right, in a way. And of course, there are problems with that, ethical issues and so on. But one of the points of doing this is to say how heavily loaded it is in the hands of the people who have 2 million cameras as opposed to the people who have one, right? And it's not the same mode of voyeurism in the police state and the second film, I think, because it's also more, there are different types of things going on. Like, you're not looking for certain kinds of people in Palestine in a way. They're trying to describe, they're kind of looking out from their window and feeling the oppression, like this kind of outside is coming in type of thing. Right? In like Haifa, you can see the flags around you. Like, it's like you open your window and there are 20 flags of people who, of so-called the enemy in that sense. And part of what people have said to us are, okay, that it should have been two-sided and all. But the whole point of it is that it's a kind of investigation of, in a way, an interior position. Like, so just making it a dialogue of two CCTV cameras in a war with each other wasn't the point. It was much more like, if I am sitting in my house and I have this little periscopic thing, then part of the strange translation of like what, it's totally voyeuristic, some of it is violent and so on, but this is some of the, and then there is curiosity, and then there is other things, laughter and the joy of finding something and so on. So there are all these things that come up when you do this. And that's still a more open space than the police control room, where it's, I think, much more scary, and in that sense, much more widespread also.
I just want your personal opinion from the experience of shooting these two films in a given scenario of a time bomb explosion and CCTVs around. What is the chance of the system, like maybe the president, wanting to frame someone, passing an order, and the software being planted on an innocent victim, and the body is moving, the face is planted, expressions can be and dialogues can be manipulated by software. What I'm asking is, you're talking about voyeurism with CCTV. I'm talking about criminal use by the systems. What are the chances of this happening? I'm just giving a scenario. What is your personal opinion? Thank you.
I mean, as far as I know, video feeds can be circumstantial, but they don't prove you guilty. Anand Partvardhan has had this. He has video documentation. He cannot take it to court because they say video cannot, it'll help, it can support, it is not what can prove elsewhere as well. No, it doesn't nail you. You have to go through, you have to be proved. There's additional evidence. But, India is a deep state. They go through, they can twist anything to nail anybody. So, let's not sensationalize like 8 frames of video being manipulated. A lot does get manipulated. Look at NSA, look at what WikiLeaks reveals to us, look at PRISM and the kind of deep surveillance that's being done with complete corporate collusion, whether it's Google and it's. I really think video surveillance is one of the,
but also
the most superficial type of. You brought up our UID cards in the introduction, Curator's note to the thing that will be connected to the Natgrid and so on. And then, yes, all the racial profiling will come in and things can be manipulated.
The one thing in the Manchester footage, the E1, E2, E3, E4. I mean, did you get more into it? You know, what it was all about finally? Because it kind of corroborates what she said, you know, that you are looking for the obvious. You know, the camera has been set there to look for these 5 categories. So, I mean, did you come across something like that which was actually happening, you know, there?
No, because as Lalita says, nothing really happened. Like in the 6 days we were in the control room. But the racial profiling is there. But then in the mall, everything is there. You look like a lukha there, you're loitering around, you're not spending money, you will be watched. So representational things, all the prejudices of daily life, I mean, quite natural. They manifest themselves in a film you'll make or you'll make. They manifest themselves in, you know, in the control room.